Hello, my dear listener, and welcome back to the Stop Taking Crap, Start Taking Command podcast series. As I'm talking now, the rain's coming down, and I have two sad dogs and two frustrated cats staring miserably out through the French windows at it. They're all huddled together, all thoroughly fed up, and they don't even want to go out when it's like this. I can't say I blame them, but they keep shooting looks at me as if it's my fault, so I don't know whether to laugh or cry about that. Well, today I want to talk about something that feels really personal to me, and I suspect it might feel personal for you too. It's about our voices, the stories we carry, the truths we've lived, the experience and insight we can offer, and the way so many of us, somewhere after 50, start to feel as if those voices have grown quieter, like we've pulled back from speaking because nobody's interested in hearing us anymore. Not because we no longer have anything to say, but because the world has stopped listening quite as closely. We're not as noticeable as we used to be in a culture that prizes youth and vitality and all too often openly sneers at age and wisdom. And I know that feeling. I've felt it too. I've experienced ageism, and because it's so difficult to prove, I think it's one of the last bastions of discrimination that people can hide behind. And the thing is that so many of us don't notice that we're being sidelined or ignored or belittled in ways that are gentle, but all the more damaging for that because they lead us to believe that the problem is us and not society's increasing intolerance for us as we age. There's a strange shift that happens, isn't there? Something to think about if you haven't already noticed it. And maybe it's not you who feels like you should be quiet. Maybe you already have a well-respected place in society through your business or career or family structure. Maybe it's a friend you might have who's feeling ever more diminished as she grows older. Maybe she doesn't feel like she matters anymore. This podcast is for every woman who feels that way. For years and years, we're busy, aren't we? Building businesses and careers, creating comfortable homes, raising families, supporting everyone who needs us. Our lives are full of purpose and noise and movement and action. And then one day we look around and it dawns on us that the conversations have changed. The spotlight's moved. The world seems to be listening to younger voices, fresher faces, faster stories. Our contributions are no longer treated as legitimate or even relevant. And because that tends to happen gradually and gently, we start to internalize it even as we're not fully noticing this phenomenon, and it eventually leads us to wonder if what we have to say still matters. Even worse, we can actually start to believe ourselves that it doesn't. I remember feeling that way myself not so long ago. I'd reached an age where people had started looking through me in shops, where I'd be spoken over or actually ignored in meetings, refused interviews for jobs, and even social media seemed to be suggesting that my time for being visible had passed. And a quiet but seriously damaging confusion started. A feeling of bereftness, of loss. I was becoming invisible in a world that used to see me clearly, and I ended up wondering how that could have happened to me. I grieved for what I saw was a significant loss of something within myself that others had taken away while I hadn't noticed them doing it. But here's what I've come to understand. We will only remain invisible if we choose to let that happen. We have the wisdom and the power to insist on being seen and heard. I decided, once the penny dropped, that I wasn't going to tolerate people who treated me as if I didn't matter. And I don't just mean the wider public. I had people on my friends list in the real world. And I started to realize that some of the interactions we were having left me sad and frustrated. And yes, sometimes even angry. I felt disrespected and unheard and unvalued. So I picked up my mental scythe and I cut away all the people from my life who diminished me. who belittled me, who were always keen to criticize or fail to support, or who just judged me on the mistakes that I'd made instead of appreciating the love and kindness I'd shown them instead. Because none of us is perfect, but people are very quick to judge us when we're not. And in the wider arena, out here in the world, I started talking to other women about this ageism issue that keeps us in all kinds of subtle, quiet ways, quiet ourselves and in the background. It's an attitude that's so powerful in its silence in response to our attempts to stay relevant. But like I say, it only has power if we don't stand against it instead. So we have to do that or disappear entirely. And that is something none of us deserves. One of the most fabulous things about growing older is that we carry stories. We've lived through times of heartbreak and joy, through changes we never saw coming, through losses and new beginnings. We've learned resilience the hard way, not from books or workshops, but from stepping up to life over and over again, even when it didn't feel the way we wanted it to or expected, and even when we had to pick up a bunch of broken pieces and figure out how to start again. We did that, and many of us have done it more than once, and those experiences count for something. They don't deserve to be swept under someone else's rug and forgotten about as if they never happened. And those stories, our stories, they're gold dust, they're wisdom and comfort. They're a guide, they're a roadmap that younger women need. Wisdom that resonates in a world that's increasingly becoming more automated and even robotic at times. Realness matters, rawness matters. That's how we hold on to the humanity. So we stay connected as people. And best of all, when you declare yourself and your story, you don't just reclaim your own voice, you give other women the permission they feel they need to find their voices too. And there's a myth I want to challenge just quietly, just gently, that older women are content to fade quietly into the background, that somehow with age we lose relevance, passion, or even the desire to be heard. But every woman I know, every woman I've worked with, written for or listened to, carries a powerful set of stories inside her. They might burn softly, but it's a steady flame. It's the flame of experience, of compassion, of knowing who she really is, and that deserves to be seen and heard. So if you've ever thought, oh, it's too late for me, or who would want to hear my story now? Please know this, someone is waiting for exactly what you have to say. And your voice may not be the loudest in the room, but it might be the one that reaches a heart in the most impactful way. And being heard isn't always about having a platform or a following. It's about being understood. It's about something falling into place for people. It's that moment when someone says, oh, I felt that too. Or, you've put into words what I couldn't. Or, thank you for saying that. Or, oh, I'm so glad I'm not alone. Those moments, small and human and real, they are where the healing happens. And that's why I do what I do. It's why I write the stories I write. It's why I keep talking about this stuff. And it's why I help women to tell their own stories, because we all deserve to see ourselves on the page, in the mirror, and be heard and valued in the world. When a woman tells her story, she steps back into her power. She says, I'm here, I matter, my life has meaning. And that declaration, whether it's spoken quietly or more boldly, that changes everything. Maybe you've been told to move over for the next generation. Maybe your ideas were dismissed or your wisdom overlooked. Maybe you've simply grown used to staying quiet because it feels easier. But here's the truth. We don't stop mattering because we grow older. We become more valuable, more nuanced, more compassionate, more rooted in truth, more the sum of all our parts. And the world needs the perspective of women who've lived, who know what it means to lose, to rebuild, to learn and love through uncertainty, to learn to move past fear, to find beauty in the ordinary, and learn their own strength. And if we don't speak, if we let that wisdom go unheard, the world becomes poorer for it. For me, the turning point came when I realized that invisibility wasn't my destiny. Just because people sought to put me there didn't mean I had to stay there. I saw it as an invitation to start speaking again. That was my conscious, active choice, my invitation to use my voice again, to use my writing, my podcasting, my voice, not just for myself, but for every woman who's ever felt unseen. Because nobody deserves to feel like she doesn't matter, and nobody should settle for that. It's why I write the stories I do about women finding strength, rediscovering themselves, piecing themselves back together, because fiction is just another way of telling the truth. It's just another way of allowing that truth to resonate, but in a gentler, softer way that doesn't disrespect. And it's why I created my memoir writing work, to help women turn their lived experience into something beautiful and lasting. Our stories, they don't fade with time. They gather power and they keep us strong. And we can pass that strength on. I think that's a wonderful prospect, actually. So today I want to invite you to do something simple. Just start speaking again, not to the whole world. Just start with yourself. Write a few lines in a journal or a notebook, or hell, just even on the back of an envelope. Write something about what matters to you right now. You could tell a friend or a family member a story from your past, even if it feels ordinary. Share a moment or an experience that changed you, because your story isn't boring or mundane or irrelevant. It's an important thread in the rich, beautiful tapestry that connects us all. And when you share it, you help another woman see that she's not invisible either, that her story matters too. The truth is that the world may not always notice older women, but that doesn't mean we've disappeared. Far from it. We're the storytellers, the truth keepers, the quiet revolutionaries of kindness and courage. We're the women who rebuild. We listen. We get back up after life knocks us over again and again and again. We're so good at that, aren't we? So maybe we can share that to help other women find the strength to get back up again too. Together, our voices can create something powerful, a chorus of lived experience, laughter, and grace that refuses to be silenced. So keep speaking, keep writing, keep being visible, because you, my darling, are still here and your amazing life story is still unfolding. There will always be plenty for you to say. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if this episode has resonated with you, if it's moved something in you, I'd love you to share it with a friend, especially someone who might need reminding that she's not invisible either, and that her story matters too. You can find out more about my work writing for and speaking to women and helping them share their stories at anniecookwriter.com, or follow me on social media for weekly reflections and stories and gentle encouragement. And remember, your voice is your precious and important legacy. So let's make sure you have the chance to create that. Okay, I will talk to you soon.